Assalamualaikum and good day for everyone. My name is ATIRAH and my matric number is 04071. We are from Group 3 and our topic is the political economy of human trafficking. Why does modern slavery persist in a globalized world? Okay, global economy characterized by the rapid movement of capital, information and technological advancement. It's controlled by capitalism and elites. Modern slavery is a massive global business. What is human trafficking? Human trafficking is the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring or receipt of people through force, fraud or deception with the aim of exploiting them for profit and money. In this presentation, we will explain why does modern slavery persist in a globalized world. Without further delay, we begin with the next presenter.
Okay, a very good morning to our lecturer and fellow classmates. Today, I will be discussing my part, which is the economic and political factors behind human trafficking and why the issue continues to exist despite global efforts to stop it. Human trafficking, also known as modern slavery, is a serious violation of human rights. It involves the recruitment, transportation, or exploitation of people through force, fraud, or deception for the purpose of making profit. Victims are often forced to work in industries such as agriculture, construction, fishing, manufacturing, and even domestic services. So, my first slide is about economic factors behind human trafficking. Firstly, poverty and economic inequality are among the biggest causes of human trafficking. Many individuals living in poor communities struggle to find stable employment and access basic necessities such as education, healthcare, and social protection. Because of these challenges, they are often willing to take risks in the hope of improving their lives. Traffickers take advantage of this desperation by offering fake jobs with promises of high salaries and better opportunities abroad. For example, a person may be promised a well-paying job in another country, but upon arrival, their passport is confiscated and they are forced to work without proper wages or freedom. Another important, fact, Another important factor is the growth of global supply chains. Today, products are manufactured through different stages across multiple countries. This makes it difficult to monitor labor conditions throughout the production process. As a result, labor exploitation can occur in factories, farms, and informal workplaces without public awareness. In addition, the desire for profit encourages exploitation. Some businesses focus heavily on reducing costs and increasing profit. This creates demand for cheap labor, which traffickers are willing to provide through illegal means. Therefore, human trafficking has become a highly profitable criminal activity. Moving on to my next slide, which is political factors behind human trafficking. Besides economic factors, political issues also contribute significantly to human trafficking. One major factor is migration. Every year, millions of people migrate for employment, education, or safety. However, migrants often face language barriers, lack of legal protection, and limited knowledge of local laws. These conditions make them vulnerable to traffickers who exploit their situation. Another factor is a weak governance and corruption. In some countries, labor laws are not effectively enforced, and authorities may lack the resources to investigate trafficking cases. Corruption can further weaken efforts when officials accept bribes or ignore illegal activities. Furthermore, human trafficking remains attractive to criminals because it is considered a low risk, high profit crime. Criminal networks can earn substantial profits while facing relatively low chances of arrest or conviction. This encourages traffickers to continue their operation. So, by after talking about these two slides, which is the economic factors and also the political factors, we can come to a conclusion where human trafficking is driven by a combination of economic and political factors. Poverty, economic inequality, demand for cheap labor, migration challenges, weak governance, and corruption all contribute to this global problem. To effectively combat human trafficking, governments must strengthen law enforcement, improve labor protection, support vulnerable communities, and increase international cooperation. Only by addressing these root causes can we can reduce human trafficking and protect human dignity. Thank you. That is all from my part.
Assalamualaikum. My name is IFFAH MAISARAH binti Kamarudin 304145. Today I will talk about the causes of human trafficking and why modern slavery still exists until today. The firstly is because the poverty and economic inequality are major causes of human trafficking. People from the poor communities are easier to exploit because they need job and money. Many victims are tricked with the promise of better jobs and better life. The second one is because the globalization and migrations are also increase the risk of human trafficking. People can move more easily between the countries, but some migrant workers do not have enough the legal protections. This makes them the more vulnerable to exploitation. The third one is there are high demand from a cheap labor. Industries such as agriculture, construction, manufacturing, and domestic work often needs the low cost worker. Trafficker takes advantage of this demand to make money. Next, I will talk about the modern slavery still continue until now because this is because the weak of law enforcement. In some countries, anti-trafficking law are not strong enough. Corruption can also help the trafficker escape from the punishment. The next one is another reason is organized crime networks. Human trafficking is a very profitable business. Criminal groups work across many countries, making it difficult to stop them. Lastly, is because the lack of awareness is also a problem. Many people do not know the dangers of human trafficking. Limited education and information make people easier to target for a trafficker. In conclusion, human trafficking continue because of the poverty, globalizations, demand of a cheap labor, weak law enforcement, organized the crime, and lack of awareness. We need a stronger law, better cooperations between the country, and more public awareness to fight the modern slavery.
Next, for my part, I will explain about theoretical approach. Our team will provide three theories that related to modern slavery. These theories could possibly explain why this kind of activity exists today. The first one is the system, which is under the critical international political economy, IPE. As we all know that capitalism is profit driven. So the corporation or what kind of entity will find, no matter what way, to find the cheapest labor, the cheapest way to produce something, to make something, to sell something. The next one is we must understand that global supply chain in the trade or whatever it is very complex. It's involve many level of bureaucracy, and even though there is many laws stated about trades or related to logistic and global supply chains, there must be an overlapping legal framework or loophole in the law. So that's why these irresponsible corporations or entity, they use this as an opportunity to hide their exploitation towards the labours. There are some side or few of people that bring up their core argument using the system theory, which is they stated that modern slavery is actually not a wrongdoing, it's not a mistake, it's not a bug, but instead it is one of the features that include in global capitalism. Under the term, they said a race to the bottom. The next one will be neoclassical economics under the theory the market, which is we will always wondering why this kind of activity is still going, because this kind of irresponsible side or corporation or person or a team or a groups consider this thing, their action is justified because trafficking is also part of business. So in the economy, they're still using the same core concept or idea in the economics, which is supply and demand. In this situation, the supply is poverty and vulnerability versus the demand, which is cheap goods and labor. This irresponsible entity, they are gaining cost benefits because by finding the victims that from human trafficking that later will become forced labor in the terms of modern slavery. It almost costs nothing to acquire them. But from research data stated that from human trafficking into the modern slavery itself could generate 236 billions in annual profits. So they justify the action by bringing a core argument, which is as long this activity is bringing profit, is providing profits, so it still makes sense, it's okay. This could answer why this kind of activity still going on. Even perhaps there are still multiple countries, such as even though in Southeast Asia itself, in the ASEAN itself, that generating their GDP or annual economic growth through cheap labours from production by collaborating with big corporations, because they are justifying the action stated that by trafficking, by modern slavery, as long as could generate money, could contribute to the economy, then it will be okay. It's not wrongdoing. The last theories that could explain this activity or this issue and problem is the theory of the adaptation under the complexity theory, which is it stated that trafficking is an adaptive system. It adapt to survive, not a linear crime. It's not like this. It's not a deterrence. So when there is a challenge, when there is a law that's stopping that from that kind of action, they will came out with another solution or options to keep on going with these human trafficking actions. Because when laws close one road, but this illegal or underground network adapting by using digital currencies like crypto nowadays, they don't depending on cash or through a bank transfer, but instead using digital currencies like crypto, Bitcoin, and also they could promote or recruit the victims to become cheap labor to social media nowadays. Their core argument about this theory is the system is self-organizing. This network of human trafficking is evolving. It's evolved around enforcement like water around the rock. So that's all the three theories related to the modern slavery in the problems of human trafficking that could possibly explain why this thing happens.
Next, I will discuss the analysis and discussion about why modern slavery continues to persist in a globalized world despite the economic, social, political, and the technology factors. So firstly, one of the main factors is the economic factors. So in today's highly competitive global economy, many businesses try to reduce production costs in order to maximize profits. So as a result, some employers exploit workers through low wages, excessive working hours, and unsafe working conditions. So according to the ILO, illegal profits generated from forced labor are estimated at around 236 billion USD per year. So it shows that modern slavery remains a highly profited activity for criminals and unethical businesses. The secondly is economic factors. So as we know, poverty and economic inequality play a significant role. So people living in poverty are often willing to accept job offers abroad in the hope of improving their lives. Unfortunately, many of them become victims of forced labor, debt bondage, or sexual exploitations. So in addition, factors such as economic instability, conflicts, and the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic have increased people's vulnerability to human trafficking. So this demonstrates that globalization does not benefit everyone equally, especially those from disadvantaged backgrounds. Another important factor is in political factor, which is weak law enforcement and corruption. So although many countries have introduced anti-trafficking laws, enforcement is often inconsistent. So corruption and weak governance allow trafficking syndicates to avoid punishment and continue their operations. So since human trafficking frequently involves cross-border activities, stronger international cooperation is necessary to effectively combat this crime. And lastly, the development of digital technology has changed the way traffickers operate. So social media platforms, online job advertisements, and communication applications are often used to attract victims with false promises of high-paying jobs and better opportunities. So while technology brings many benefits to society, it can also be misused for criminal activities, including human trafficking. So what I can conclude for this part is modern slavery persists because of a combination of economic, social, political, and technology factors. So high profits from exploitation, poverty and inequality, weak law enforcement, and the misuse of technology all contribute to the continuation of this global issue. So therefore, addressing human trafficking requires stronger international cooperation, better law enforcement, greater corporate responsibility, and increased public awareness.
In conclusion, modern slavery continues to persist in a globalized world because of the complicated relationship between poverty, economic inequality, corruption, and weak legal system. True globalization has advantages and disadvantages. Advantages of globalization is economic growth, technological progress, and international trade amongst it. But on the other hand, it can lead to global demand for cheap labor and services. It is source of human trafficking. Okay, they targeted people who live in poverty and workers, especially migrant women and children. Victim lack of education, legal protection, and unstable employment in their country. Human trafficking is a crime against humanity, and it requires global cooperation and long-term commitment from government, NGOs, private sector, and individual itself. Without stronger global cooperation and full commitment, modern slavery will continue to affect millions of people worldwide.